So this is what we're making, a simple, complicated chain. This takes roughly 2 meters of 0.9 millimeter wire, and it's wrapped around a 4.5 millimeter mandrel. I'm starting with a meter, roughly a yard, of 1 millimeter wire, and I'm going to file a long taper on the end using my number 2 cut flat hand file, and I'm going to pull this down to 0.9. I've got my round draw plate in the vise. Put a little bit of wax on your wire on the end, and I'm starting at the first hole that the wire won't go through. So never skip a hole when you're drawing wire. Always go one after the other. And measure often. I'm using a 4.5 knitting needle in my cordless drill. Just stick the wire into the chuck, bend it 90 degrees, and I usually just do about 20 to 24 millimeters of wire. You can do the whole lot if you want, but it's more awkward to handle. Don't let the wire that you're holding flip through your fingers, or otherwise it'll cut you. So you can see that I went ahead and did the whole length of wire. But also what I'll do is just cut it with the side cutters so that it's more manageable. I have a 4/0 blade in my saw. A 5 or a 6 would probably be better, but I don't have any. It just means it'll be a little bit rougher, but it'll still work. I keep my coil squeezed between my fingers. I put it on my bench peg. Cut 3 or 4. Don't let the saw go all the way through to the back. And just continue until you have all of your jump rings cut. You can buy them pre-cut if you want. I usually don't mind doing it because it's a little bit of a break. I'll cut a few, solder a few, cut a few more, assemble a few. It kind of helps break it up a bit. But cut all of them. When I get down to the last few, I usually slip it back on my knitting needle, just because it's easier. And then just do 1 or 2 at a time. Now this is roughly 1/3 of the jump rings, so I'm going to close all of these and get them lined up as perfectly as I can. No gap, and then I'm going to solder these separately. I'm going to lay the jump rings on solder that I cut. So check your flux. If it's dry, use distilled water. Tap water will have extra little chemicals in it that you don't really need, and oftentimes when you're soldering with tap water in your flux, it will turn black. So stir up your flux. It wants to be liquid and white. Now I'm going to use small bits of hard solder, and these are about 1.5 millimeters long. It's actually a little bit too much, but better a little bit too much than a little bit too little. So what I'm going to do is flux the solder. For one thing, the solder has to be fluxed for it to flow properly. And the flux will hold it in place on the charcoal block. Then I'll place the jump ring with the gap right on the solder, and we'll flux that. Now, it doesn't matter whether the jump ring is on top of the solder, or if the solder is outside or inside or on top of the jump ring. As long as it's touching that joint, it'll flow. We're using hard solder. And this is a Smith's mini torch with the number 7 tip. And I adjust my neutral flame. Have your solder pick in your hand. Heat this from the top. Your flux will go clear and the solder will flow. And then push the jump ring so that it's not in that little puddle of flux anymore. Otherwise it'll stick to the charcoal. If it does stick, heat it up again and push it. Don't pry it off. So just do one at a time. Pay attention to what you're doing. And then you can either let these cool or you can quench them. I think I'll just let them cool. Now we can start assembling these, and what I'll do is I'll make these oval, and I'm just going to pull a set of double round pliers from the inside, a pair of them, and the solder should be touching one of the points of the pliers, and that way when you assemble it, the join will be hidden. Now, with our oval jump rings, take another one of your soldered rings and make sure that it goes over easily. If it does, then that's the right size. So we'll take an unsoldered jump ring, open it, take 2 of the oval jump rings, close, if I can find my pliers, close this, and then put another unsoldered one next to that one. Now this wire was half hard when I started, and after I drew it down and coiled it, it will have hardened a little, but not much, so it's still workable. So I've got 2 unsoldered jump rings on my oval jump rings, and then I'm going to place 2 of my soldered jump rings over the top, and then 2 more unsoldered ones on the end of this, attaching 2 more oval jump rings at the same time. So onto this, 2 more open jump rings and 2 more oval jump rings. Close the one. Make sure you have a good join, and then put another one on, just like that one. So that one will go through the oval and through the second set of ovals. Close that one, and then you can put 2 more soldered ones on the oval. If it's a snug fit, just grab the oval jump rings with your parallel jaw pliers. Give them a little squeeze. Try not to kill them. And then it'll be 2 more open jump rings, 2 more oval jump rings, 2 more round soldered jump rings. Now you can see that this is what it's going to look like. Now there's enough space that you can go back at any time and you can solder these separately. If you want to, as you assemble it, you can solder those, but I'm just going to assemble the whole thing and then go back and solder those afterwards. So just keep assembling until you get your length. From this point on, it's quite easy because you'll just need 4 soldered jump rings, 2 of which you leave round, 2 of which you make into an oval, and you're assembling it on to open jump rings. Quite easy. And then after you get your whole length, go back and solder these that you haven't soldered yet. Okay, there's half of it. You should be pretty good at this by now. Now, half of it is 90 centimeters, 900 millimeters, 3 feet. So it's going to take you 2 meters in the old money. I would assemble the whole thing, add single jump rings on the end so that you can adjust it for length, make a hook for the other end, hallmark it. Now, when you get it completely finished, you need either to leave these unsoldered ones alone, depending on your torch, or if you have a mini torch, put these on your third hand and solder them.